The European Union panic as they prepare for no-deal Brexit, and the recession finally hits the Eurozone. Well, this whole debate, especially in terms of the fisheries between the UK and the EU throughout this whole the process of the trade negotiations until the end of December, it's not going too well because both sides are standing strongly against each other. The EU still wants access to our waters. They also want the whole level playing field issues to be a big factor. But the UK government and David Frost, the chief negotiator, is now completely rejecting everything that the EU have said. So the European Union are now in a panic mood because they weren't expecting to actually be forced to prepare for WTO. But this is where we are. Yes, the EU are now panicking. According to the Express, Michel Barnier has ordered to start no-deal planning as the UK refuses to budge on fisheries. He's now basically told his officials that it looks like the UK won't really say yes to us anymore, so we might actually have to consider this whole WTO route for the UK. So according to the senior members of the European Parliament's UK Coordination Group, they've said that they believe that Boris Johnson and Dominic Cummings, his senior advisor, are seeking a no-deal exit. And this is just an excuse that they're trying to be difficult and say that, you know, we still want to deal with the EU, but in reality they want no deal. This is according to the EU. It has been a while since I came to the conclusion that no deal is what the Prime Minister and Cummings actually want. This is according to one of the MEPs who said this to Michel Barnier. And he's also said that if you read their team's attitude in the negotiations, it seems to fit that assumptions quite well. I mean, whether it's the UK strategy to play dirty and actually aim to go with WTO or genuinely seeking a trade deal, it's not looking good because the European Union need to change their mind. I have a feeling that eventually they will. Last minute they're going to come back and give us a normal free trade agreement with no political alignment. I still don't see us to be forced to go out on WTO terms in that way. We might, but in a very temporary way, as after a few months the EU will come back and just give us a free trade deal, because that's what we want. You know, we don't want any ties with the EU, but we just want to trade. Simple. But this is not really good timing for the European Union because they are going through a recession now. According to the European Union's Statistics Office, Eurostat, the GDP in the 19 countries sharing the euro has now shrunk by 3.8% compared to the previous 3-month period. This the sharpest quarterly decline since the time series started in 1995. Now, Reuters had polled several economists who had forecast a 3.5% contraction in the Eurozone economy. So this is like this follows a marginal growth of 0.1%, by the way, in the final 3 months of 2019. Now, this latest slump for economic output in those 19 countries sharing the euro will set alarm bells ringing in Brussels, and it is worse than during the financial crisis of 2008 and 9. The wider EU economy also suffered a huge blow, with GDP shrinking at 3.3% year on year during the 3-month period. Now, financial analysts have printed a bleak picture for the Eurozone, warning that there could be much worse to come as this whole lockdown stuff is continuing and to be enforced throughout Europe. But do they ever learn? No, because their solution to fix this problem coming out of Ursula von der Leyen's office is more harmonization and more centralization. Yeah, well done, guys. Just try the same method over and over again. Why not? So yeah, the Eurozone is actually getting closer to a collapse within the next few years. I don't know how long we could give them unless they find a viable solution to actually fix this, not just short term, because the ship is sinking. And they're trying to use plasters, and I don't know what they're doing. It's not really going well. And countries like France, that a lot of people, ordinary French people, are now against Macron and the government. And Emmanuel Macron is now facing another movement, the Frexit movement, that's still rising in France. So there's a lot of people who have now started this campaign. Obviously, Frexit, it's been going on for a couple of years, especially since the 2016 Brexit referendum. But now they are so frustrated and so angry that Macron as president and his administration have been failing to deliver what they promised, that they just associate him with the rest of the EU. I mean, it is still highly unlikely that France will overwhelmingly vote against the EU, but Macron has warned that he's not going to risk introducing any sort of referendum, because he's afraid that you never know. The Brexit side might win by 51% or something, or 50.1%. So anything is possible. That's why he's against any sort of referendum. Now, if you watched last night's vlog at 8 p.m. and not the 5:45 p.m. news show, was talking about the BBC Panorama and how they collaborated with the Labour activists. So they had this program talking about the PPE scheme and the hospitals, and they had a number of people in that documentary, in that show, who were nurses and doctors. It was revealed and exposed that those people were Labour members and or socialist activists. So, and they were actually coordinated. It was a coordinated move to make sure that they go on the show. So now there's now a backlash because BBC Newsnight also decided to do a program and talk to some sources. This time they actually decided to hide their faces so that we don't know who these sources are. You know why? Because you don't want us to expose who they actually are. Yeah, so Lewis Goodall from the BBC tweeted that today I spent the afternoon with two frontline NHS staff at a large NHS trust. They said they felt compelled to speak out about the PPE situation they're facing. This is what they told me. It didn't make for easy listening. And so now, obviously, we know that Lewis Goodall, historically, we've discovered that he was a history and politics student at Oxford and a Labour Party activist. So professional and balanced.
Global supply problems or not, global pandemic or not, NHS staff do feel let down. What you're about to hear are two voices, both of whom work for a large NHS trust. They're both in fear for their jobs, but they feel compelled to speak out because the situation is so bad. They've spoken to us, therefore, on condition of anonymity.
I'm upset that we were abandoned and left to our own devices. I'm frustrated by the trust and by the government. Some of my colleagues are quite anxious about going to work, and some are willing to go on strike if they need to, or refuse to work.
Yeah, so everything is now, all these people are now anonymous, because we can't really tell who they are. We know why. But this is why the best way to deal with people like Lewis Goodall is the way Dominic Cummings treated him a few months ago.
You say all sorts of things, you don't know what you're talking about.
Right,
so
okay.
Everyone watching at home should know, don't watch the news. Because
Don't
it's
watch the
almost
news?
all...
Is it really?
Yeah.
And why is that?
Well, because they have people like you on asking questions.
Well, Dominic Cummings is absolutely right. They completely destroyed him because he keeps asking stupid questions. But the BBC Panorama have now come out to defend themselves and say that, those activists, we didn't know. Things happen. It wasn't planned. Yeah, so Panorama, according to the Times, is now defending using activists in the PPE investigation. They've been forced to defend this program into the supply of the PPE, and after it was emerged that many of the medics interviewed were political activists. And one of the Tory MPs has now accused the BBC of playing unbalanced left-wing party politics during a national crisis by not informing viewers of the contributors' affiliations. Well, he's right. And then, for example, Sonia Adasara, who spoke of fears on her ward about going to work unprotected, is a former prospective Labour candidate whose criticisms of the Conservative health policies were once posted on Jeremy Corbyn's Facebook page. And yet the BBC has the audacity to defend themselves. Well done, guys. This is a situation we have with the media at this point, especially people like Lewis Goodall, who we know used to be a Labour activist. It's not really a secret anymore. Now, today is Tom Moore's birthday, who until today was a captain. Now he's been promoted by Her Majesty the Queen. So he had his 100, well, I think he's 100 now today. And Boris Johnson also sent him a birthday message because he's been able to raise, I think, about £30 million for NHS staff.
Captain Tom, I know I speak for the whole country when I say we wish you a very happy 100th birthday. Your heroic efforts have lifted the spirits of the entire nation. I think I first heard about your mission when you'd raised about £1 million, which in itself was extraordinary. And you've now inspired the most incredible generosity, raising over £29 million, supporting the cause closest to all our hearts.
Well, to get a message from the Prime Minister is really outstanding, because he has been doing so well. And look what we've produced recently, or what Carrier's produced. We got another boy into the country. Well done, Prime Minister. Thank you very much for your message.
Well, that's all great. Happy birthday. I am just slightly concerned about where this money is going to be going exactly, and how. If it's going to be going to the NHS HQ initially, or the Treasury, and then sent to the staff or the budget, that's gonna be slightly tricky. But if it's going to go directly to the staff members, nurses and doctors and everyone, well, specifically I think nurses who don't have big salaries, that's fine. But I am kind of worried about the bureaucracy of this whole process of the charity money being handed to everybody in our healthcare system. But this is where we are now. So at 8 o'clock tonight, we have our a new episode of Maya's life vlogs, the daily vlogs that we do, the informal format where I just walk around and just talk about the political issues of the day. We have some updates about Brexiteers and Aaron Banks, who has just won his High Court case against the Electoral Commission. So make sure to tune in at 8 p.m. And obviously, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and click on that bell next to it so you get notified. And if you want to support this channel and become a member, then make sure to check out the link in the description, or find the join button next to subscribe, or just go on your browser and type in youtube.com/myotc/join, and I'll see you guys in the next video.